United Nations. We thank the United Nations, history and the world as our partner in this endeavor, as the UNIA begins its second century of development from the headquarters in Northeast Ohio. And when we started this in the African Diaspora Directorate, we were represented by the successor to Marcus Garvey, recognized worldwide in the seats of power and in government of the United States and the United Nations. The Honorable Cleo Miller appointed John Jackson to walk with us in this endeavor. John, I'm going to ask you for a few words. It's you. John?
Good evening, everyone. Well, it's been a magnificent journey. At times it was sort of dark and foggy, but it's come through. It is also exhilarating to think that the Back to Africa movement dates from Paul Cuffey 2 centuries ago. So we've been on this path faithfully for a long time. And I guess that's what takes to make a nation, glacial changes. But here we are now. And so, as I said to the members in the UNIA, we must now look forward to the next century. We know what Garvey has done and his fruits. We see what Paul Cuffey and the 19th century leaders did and their fruits. So now we in the 21st century must carry on that legacy. Thank you very much.
The vote for this on August 2nd, those of us who are American citizens say, yes, we voted for the permanent form. Biden kept his word when he said that he owes his election to people of African descent. And in that, we're carrying out a mission to no congressional authorization needed. He has all power to do what we ask. As Queen Mother said, he can cut the check. On the 25th of August, to the United States Department of Agriculture the first check cutting process for $530 million. We know he can cut the check. That's not the question. The law is passed. $10 million in the hands of the Secretary of Agriculture, notwithstanding any court orders, notwithstanding anything that Steve Miller and his thing, a program of action so that if he so chooses, President Biden can tell his Secretary of Agriculture, cut the check. They're responsible for this money because they've created a coalition. They've created a coalition, in fact, that started on August 25th, 2019. And now on August 25th, 2021, we're opening it up to others to join us, but we're not waiting. Our people cannot wait. We are in such a condition in this global pandemic that our brothers and sisters on the continent cannot wait. Our brothers and sisters in Haiti were finding out by the day have perished, and the legion of those who are injured are just now reaching the airwaves. We cannot wait. And we are going to give the means to cut the first of a series of checks that are part of the Black Folks Plan, which is a public-private partnership as a private partnership in place. There does not need to be it takes action by the president and his administration to fulfill their pledge on day one. On day one, the first executive order that the president signed. See, when you become the president, they usually, you walk into a room in the Capitol and you sit down and there's some executive orders that you want to sign, because if you're a different party than the previous administration, there's some things that you just want to make sure from day one is put in place. And for President Biden, it was addressing racial, it was the path that we are on that many saw as a path that could lead to another civil war. Because the embedded inequality in the history of America from its start as a nation, that embedded slavery in all of its states, as a nation that by modern standards in 1868 was an apartheid nation until 1965. It had institutional racism built in to the levers of government at all levels. And what we are using on August 25th is based on the Department of Agriculture, because the Department of Agriculture has lost in court the proof in court, just even for a limited period, that it was so bad to show how the Department of Agriculture helped destroy Black farms. Now, Tufts University said that in Black farmers from 1920 to 2018 lost land value of over $120 billion, and went from over 900,000 Black farmers in 1920 to less than 50,000 in 2018. So we have a case to be made in several means to go first with food, because that's a fundamental. It's like water, it's like air, it's like if you don't have these items, you die. So by approaching the Secretary of Agriculture on June 9th, we laid out our case. We put forth the structures of a 4-step process plan of $530 million. Now, what has happened in the intervening period is that we've locked it down in detail for usage of monies in implementation of not only sustaining Black agriculture, but restarting and growing it in markets overseas in both Asia, Pacific Islanders, and in Africa. In Africa, we've agreed to take our landing in the Gambia. And it ties to one of the most racist part of the US government, the Foreign Agricultural Service. Now, I knew this decades ago because a friend of mine was their CIO, Chief Information Officer. And back then they didn't think if you're the CIO, that means you get all the data from everybody. And, you know, it was just an eye opener to work on their data and what I was seeing. Of course, now we know that it may not have been the most racist part of the previous administration. The most racist part of the previous administration may have come out of the executive office, because out of the executive office, now they are a separate law firm that is suing the Department of Agriculture because they say there should not be any set-asides. We should be living to the ideas of the American dream as put forth by the Declaration of Independence. And one of the things that I've always wanted to ask is that you do know that Declaration of Independence was a declaration of war against indigenous people, a genocidal war, because the indigenous people recognized that you were in expansion of the colonies going to carry out a genocidal war against them. So when we address this with the Department of Agriculture in the Black Folks Plan for Black Farmers, step one is a $530 million public-private partnership with the US Department of Agriculture, 4 major process steps. Process step number one is $120 million, $12 million down, $9 million a month for 1 year. What it does is creates a model of American agriculture based on generally accepted accounting principles. It is not a narrative like the 1619 New York Times project. It was a great narrative of America and history, but it was not a accountable model of America's first international business. Our first international business involved agriculture. And in that, we have the records. We can reconstruct from 1619, August 25th, when American law on January 8th, 2018, Congress passed and the president signed the 400-year African American Commemoration Act, which said that on August 25th, 2019, that we will commemorate 400 years of Africans in the English colonies that became the United States of America, with the first 20 who were sold or indentured to the colonists. We don't know. If somebody has some facts, the state of Virginia would like to know, the Department of the Interior would like to know, and we would like to know, along I'm probably under your commission, and they would probably like to see those facts off.
Well, the
And that
facts are
brings to
there.
a key point in all of
The facts are there. If you can go to project six, if you go to project1619.org, the facts are there. When they arrived, slavery did not exist in the United States until 1661. So they were in fact indentured, although they were treated as enslaved. But those indentured servants gained their freedom. But I'll defer to you to go ahead.
And again, the makers of the 1619 project, they didn't bring to the table their evidence, to my knowledge. And
I'm
I'll
not talking
ask
about
Commissioner.
I'm not talking about that project. I'm talking about project1619.org, whose founder Calvin Pearson.
Right.
I'll
I'm
defer
talking
to
about
you.
Calvin Pearson. I'm talking about Calvin Pearson. To my knowledge,
Yes.
and August 25th, 2019, did not bring such data to the attention of the United States government, to the state of Virginia, or organizations who were participating on August 25th, 2019. And if he has such
When
information,
President Obama made Fort Comfort a national, excuse me, a national historic site, that is that very same marker that you're using is what identified that fact. You didn't have to prove it; it was already proven.
the marker, does not identify as indentured or enslaved, but I'll definitely go into finding out that information for August 25th, 2021, so that we'll have it settled. Okay. If that has been accepted by the Department of Interior, by the state of Virginia, and is embedded in the 400-year commission, which is still in existence, that we will find out, and we will on next week, 7 days from now, bring that forward. As a matter of fact, seeing that apparently you know him,
I'm on the national advisory. I'm on the National Advisory Board, so yeah, I do know him.
Okay, so we need to have a talk tomorrow or the next day.
A quick comment.
Yes.
A quick comment, Herschel. Yes, Calvin Pearson was at our first meeting for the commission in October 2018, and he is very accessible, always happy to share his information. And so you probably could talk to him one-on-one even tomorrow if that was you so choose. He's very open.
You can speak on that.
Okay. Yes. Just a second, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman. Okay, of the African diaspora.
Chairman would like to make a statement.
That was okay. Just 1 second. I just want to make this clear. Who was just speaking? It was a commission member who made that statement. Okay, and so within that context, something that I didn't know, and that she did as a commission member. So we'll follow up on that. Yes, floor is open, Chairman Kofi Adjipali.
Policy of the African Diaspora Directorate that when one of us is speaking, he should complete his speech. Then you can report by seeking the floor. You just cannot interrupt. It's uncouth, it's un-Black, is on African. You allow the person on the floor to speak, please. Thank you very much.
I apologize. Certainly, I apologize for the breach of protocol. Please continue.
All right. So, seeing I've got the floor, I will say again, I'm not an oracle. I don't know all, but yes, the Chairman Kofi has laid out that how we'll conduct this. I will follow up with Commissioner Cox and advisory member Andrew Williams tomorrow to reach out, because as far as I know, in 2019, based on what I knew in 2019, was true, what I quoted, but we will get the facts right. And let me say this as a rule, okay, in what we're doing. If I make a statement on this and I'm wrong by the facts, please put them in the chat, and so that we can come the next day and correct the record, or if we see it at that time, that I give the floor over to you so that you bring the facts as you know them to the table, and so that we go and correct it. We're about to enter into, in this 17th day, we are shaping for our children's children to look back on what we are doing over these next several weeks. And I say these next several weeks, not the year, because we here on this call are creating the nucleus of a coalition that will be the civil society incubator for the permanent form on people of African descent in my mind's eye. And so with that being said, I'll come back to the agriculture in a second, but I want to open the floor on that. Is that an agreement in principle with everyone on the call, that we are forming on August 25th, 2021, off of the constitutive act of the African Diaspora Directorate, which was meant for the 300 million of us in the diaspora, the civil society incubator that will be for all of us in the permanent form on people of African descent. And I'll open it up just so you understand that it's going to meet next year for 4 days, and it's not going to have much of a budget right now, less than $1 million of United Nations budget. And so we have to prepare for what needs to be in 2022. I'll let Queen Mother, Dr. Dolores Blakely, speak first, then the chairman of the African Diaspora Directorate, the UNIA, UNESCO, and then we'll open the floor. Queen Mother, your thoughts on this?
I would just like to add first to Nana, that is with us. I want to bring my condolences to the family, and having the permission to speak, which our chairman Daniels, which is very much been involved with us at the United Nations. And we're speaking of the role for the permanent form of African descendants and inclusion of civil society. I believe that if we take up that role, inclusion of all of our people, a part of this permanent forum of African descendants at the United Nations, we have been in a position to empower all of us from civil society will be applied upon us and our leadership style of inclusion. It behooves us, Nana Kofi, for this to happen, of empowering the descendants, part of that healing and transformation that we in search of, and returning to the soil of Mother Africa. And look what we have done as catalysts of inclusion of 3 elders in Tulsa, Oklahoma, presenting a gift before them on the historical day in Greenwood District, and hearing the oldest of them, Mama Fletcher, because of the gift from all of us, the 55 million displaced Africans, the kente cloth, reminding the elders of who they are, and to have an elder at the age, a survivor of the massacre, in a clear voice saying to me, and the other 2 elders, 106 and over 100, chiming in with her, I want to go to Africa. And the divine force of life that spoke to her speak to civil society. And our request of a permanent forum has been declared for us outside of the decade at the United Nations, so that we could be heard. It behooves us to take this position and to empower our people by including civil society. I am just so moved tonight that is coming from the Black Folks Plan. This is one of our systemic plans, sustainable and economic development of a people. So I stand in solidarity, in the spirit of the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey yesterday. And in that spirit, and then hearing the young voices that spoke yesterday, and to see our young people packed in a Black church in Harlem on 7th Avenue, which now is Adam Clayton Power Boulevard, where Mr. Garvey paraded in the streets of Harlem, African for the Africans, home and abroad. It behooves us, Mr. Chairman, the presiding Mr. Chairman, who's been working with us, of the Friends of the African People, the Friends of the AU, which some of us was engaged with the AOU. All of Mother Africa is counted for in the inclusion of the Black Folks Plan, to roll out this plan and to hear us articulate in our own style and way to the world community, which I have personally been waiting for, in the spirit of Queen Mother Audley Moore. And I say to you this evening, how moved I am for us to commit ourselves of the inclusion of civil society, that we all would be sitting at the table, a part of negotiating for human existence of Mother Africa. With the healing and transformation, the DNA, the tradition and the culture, the training, the language, as we move in the gateway from the Ark of Return of the United Nations since 2015 from the CARICOM countries, which is the Caribbean, the leadership coming from Jamaica, the spirit energy of Marcus Masai Garvey has been fulfilled in the whirlwind. And this leadership position for us, speaking for ourselves before the world community and thinking for ourselves and doing for ourselves in the world community. How noble it is for us to take the position, because it falls on us. It is our responsibility as the Queen Mother, and it's my duty as the Queen Mother, representing 55 million displaced Africans of the transatlantic ocean of the slave trade. What a day and what an evening in this conversation, in this communication, in this dialogue, in this session that we are having amongst ourselves. I thank you for allowing me to speak in the spirit of our ancestors as we move forward holistically in declaring our role of empowering our people. I thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Ashe.
Chairman Kofi Ajapong of the Sons and Daughters of Africa and the African Diaspora Directorate. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Managing Director. I have spoken, but what I need to add is this. When I look back on the works of Marcus Garvey, Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah, Du Bois, and Frederick Douglass, and all the African men and women that have come before us, if any of them had thought that by this time we are still disunited, maybe they might have come up with a plan like Eshadania has come. Therefore, what I have to say is this. All of us must think seriously of what our ancestors, upon whose shoulders we are standing and breathing and surviving. The works that they have done and the fact that we don't have much now is something for each African to understand. And if you assume that we have something already, then excuse me to say you are a child. Just beginning. I started mine in 1970 with the creation of Sons and Daughters of Africa. It took up to 2015 for me to meet Eshadania. and we keep going. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Your Excellency, I would give over the floor to you because I know it is so late in the Gambia for your comments relative to the permanent forum on people of African descent and Africa, the Gambia, and African human rights. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much, Chairman Daniels. Greetings to everyone. I am Sheriff Balde, a diplomat from the Gambia. My comments on this first, I must pay respects as our elders earlier did, Queen Mother, and Brother John, and Elder Kofi, and our chairman. We must pay tribute to our ancestors. Most prominent amongst them, Marcus Garvey, and the other ones 200 years ago, Kofi and the other gentlemen, whose dreams and plans with consistency of their descendants got fulfilled on the 1st of August this year by establishing the permanent forum of people of African descent to be represented in the United Nations General Assembly. And that I would call not a favor by anyone, but humanity giving back to the rightful owners of such august organizations, because humanity started from Africa. And people of African descent around the globe are involved in the development of many civilizations, many nations. So this is a long-awaited right that we should jealously grab and make sure it is well pronounced around the globe that each and every member of this forum is aware of this recognition, and to make sure that their words and their feelings are heard and felt globally through this august body. One thing I would like to observe, I have a different or another perspective of saying we cannot wait for the check to be cut. But I want to say that the authorities that are supposed to cut this check, their morals, their right-minded, justified actions that made them being entrusted to these positions, they should be ashamed of letting us wait in for this check to be cut. They should not allow us to wait. They should do it instantly. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. And that is very true in terms of waiting for the check to be cut. In the United Nations, Queen Mother Moore had asked that the check be cut. Before that, at the establishment of the United Nations, a document was submitted that said, "We charge genocide." We've been waiting, but again, in the Biden administration that took office on January 20th, 2021, his first executive order said it will be a whole of government process to address racial equity. I'm sure they did not expect for Black folk and red folk to get together like we did in 2016 at the United Nations, hosted by New Future Foundation, Cash Community Development, and Friends of the African Union, to set the stage for where we are today. Not only Black folk, but also indigenous people in an alliance that the President of the United States can cut this check. And again, we're giving him the step process around agriculture to cut the first check. And speaking to that, we have on the line 2 of the Black farmers here in America who this program is based on. And I would ask first Bernice Atchison to speak on experience that she has had, and then I'll introduce the mayor of Fort Coffee. Bernice Atchison, the floor is yours.
Mr. Director, I'm overwhelmed at this presentation for tonight, because when I look at Queen Mother, Chairman Kofi, you as the executive director, and look at Your Honor Valde and Prince Andrew, Prophet Cox, I realize I'm looking at the people that God has set in place to shape the presence that will shape the future. We have to shape the present in order to shape the future. It has been a long, hard struggle for me. I pray a lot, I meditate a lot, and then I spend my time trying to aid and assist those that are in need, sometimes to my own detriment. But God has been good to me, and I have to testify to that fact. He has given me children that encourage me to do what I need to do. He has given me strength when I've fallen, and he's given me encouragement when I was down and out. And when death came, I just put my head into the wind, pressed forward, knowing that I didn't have to be by myself, that God was still there, still here. But this thing with this presentation of the Black farmer situation that has been going on for 40 years this year, if you want to know the truth. 40 years I've been involved in it, but I've been a representative in it for the last 22 years. It's a constant struggle to try and help people to keep up with their paperwork, to try and help them to understand what they need to do in order to prevail, to try and help them to understand, even if the check ain't cut for them, they still have to live for tomorrow and the day after. So you don't depend on that. You depend on your hope that you have in a God that sees all, knows all, and can help you to do all. you get your strength from leaning on one another, from encouraging one another, and from listening to what one another say. When Prophet Cox pray, I'm writing because I'm taking notes, because there are things that I don't want to forget to mention to God on the next day. When Mother Blakely is talking about the slave trade and different things that are happening in the world, I'm taking notes where I can share with my neighbor, with my peoples in my church, and with young people that don't know her and have not been able to watch these programs. I wish that they would take the time to take and listen at these programs, because this is an education that they cannot buy in school. They cannot get this in college. You can only get it through experience, watching others and doing behind others. Be willing to follow in their footsteps. When they pray, be willing to follow behind them. Stand on their shoulders as you pray. Let them hold you as you cry. Help you when you're down and out. But there has never been a need for this Black farmer's situation to get in the condition that it is in, because it was not because the judge and the lawyers were not informed. Because you see a witness here that informed them, kept her copy of the paperwork, and I can prove it to you, that they were informed at every step of the way that these things were not according to due process. Constitutional rights were being broken. Due process was not adhered at. But they didn't care, and they never thought that we would come together as a people and do anything about what they were doing. They really didn't think that we would ever come together in a permanent form. Please. 55 million on this side, 1.6 million all together strong. That's some power. But we have to remember that's power through God. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Madam Burnett.
Michelle. Beautiful.
It's for this time that Bernice, myself, and others are here. And now I want to introduce to you one of two public partners representing not only his history in farming and construction and livestock and an experience like Bernice with the USDA, but he's also the mayor of the town of Fort Coffee. He is a public partner of Friends of the African Union and Cash Community Development. In fact, we have two. He is the selected infrastructure director for the World Conference of Mayors of Oklahoma Association. And on this oncoming Saturday, we'll be setting down a plan of action for Oklahoma that we can only match in the nation. And as Bernice just said, They never expected Black folk and red folk to come together, except that Queen Mother, Dr. Dolores Blakely, and New Future Foundation in 2016 hosted the first meeting in the United Nations between Black folk and red folk in the United States of America. And we concluded an Indigenous Peoples Plan update for those people with a provision that they have to accept those members of the tribe who are people of African descent as well as Native American descent. I give to you the mayor of Fort Coffee. Sir, the floor is yours.
Good evening. I'd first like to say I'm thankful to Almighty God, Allah, for blessing me to be on here tonight and to be on here with gentlemen that know their history well, very well. And believe me, I've been around some people, like Sister Bernie said. I met Malcolm in 1963, Malik Shabazz. I met the brother that wrote the book about Elijah Muhammad. This is the one. I met him in Chicago on 83rd and Cottage Grove in 1971. These are dates that go back with me. But let me say this. I have a family. My mother's people came from the Cameroon, which is a very religious country in Africa. And I hope to go back and meet some of my relatives one day. But let me get down to the farming and this other part. I have, I'm a graduate from Oklahoma State University. I didn't just stop when I got out of high school. I went on a little farther and I figured that I could do better by taking a trade. So I went to Oklahoma Technology School, which is a branch of Oklahoma State University. And really, I don't think there's any Black men in this country that haven't faced a lot of obstacles. When I left from here, Oklahoma in 1962, I was offered employment here for somebody. And it was kind of funny because they offered me $2.50 an hour after graduating out of college. You know, I mean, that was an insult to me, but I thanked the guy and left and went on to Michigan and did my little stuff up there. I built a lot of apartments in Lansing, Michigan, state capital. And that's no joke. It was for real. I got letters of recommendation from the housing authority there in the state capital. And I had a choice before I moved back to Oklahoma in 1974. I'm just telling you all a little bit about me. I could have gone to Brazil to help build a hydroelectric plant in 1974. I had that choice. I had another choice to go to Atlanta, Georgia and start working there as a contractor because I was a contractor in the state of Michigan before I left. But anyway, I chose to come here because I came down here during the holidays of '73 and I saw opportunity. I really saw a lot of opportunity and the opportunity was here. I met bankers didn't know even how to figure out how to put a cost on building a house. And I taught this one guy, he's deceased now, but I showed this president of this bank, this is how I come up with a price on how to build a house and make some type of profit. But most of my people that live in my community, I probably built 40 houses in this community where I live, at least that many. I built churches in Arkansas, and also worked in Kansas exclusively. Built a huge, monstrous church over in Parsons, Kansas. And I'm considered in that church as a member of that church. The people love me so much when I work for those people, they call me their son, some of the older people. And I really was, because the opportunity was there and I got a chance to meet some great people in the state of Kansas. And, but I'm gonna go back a little bit. In 1971, there was quite a bit going on. There was a place that the Muslims were trying to buy in Chicago. And the Minister Farragon had that place right today. It's called Masa Mariam. I want you all to know that King Faisal, the man that was ruling Saudi Arabia at that time, put money up for us to buy that building at that time. Not only him, Muammar Gaddafi put up a lot of money to buy that building. It
Alhamdulillah.
started out at 2 million and ended up at 4 million. But the Muslims ended up with that building. And I'm gonna tell you the reason this community fell like it did back in the years after 74, after the Honorable Elijah Muhammad passed on, was because he was dealing with a crook that had worked his way inside of the organization and moved right up to the top. And he had coerced the Honorable Elijah Muhammad not to incorporate this religion, this great deen that we have. And that was all that property and everything. When he passed on, you know what happened to it, because there were so many jealous people. Even the black doctors in Chicago didn't want the Muslims to own a hospital, yet and still other folks, other organizations own hospitals all across America. But the Muslims don't have a hospital in America. And I'm telling you, it's just something that I've lived through over my almost 80 years. Next month, I will be 80. And I'm thankful to have heard this sister tonight. God knows, Sister Queen Mother, you are a beautiful sister. I love you, sister. I love all you guys that's talking the truth. And God loves truth. A liar cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. And we have had liars that lie every time they open their mouth to black folks. And I was listening to something that was said 10 years ago about Afghanistan. I'm rushing this up because I don't want to take the rest of the time tonight. But anyway, I heard Minister Louis Farrakhan on one of his tapes this morning on Facebook. 10 years ago, he talked about what was going to take place in Afghanistan. Let me say this, those people are tired of being occupied. And those Taliban is not going to do what they say they're going to do, kill all the people that's left over there, that helped America. I don't think that is what those people's perspective is and what they plan on doing. I truly believe they want to rule themselves and they want to be left alone. You know, France, Britain, Russia, and not then America. All of these countries have occupied that great nation. Those people are standing up. People are standing up all over this world. Look at us, as the sister said. Who would ever thought black folks could come together in America? All I can say, all praises are due to the Creator. Whatever way we call on him, I just hope and pray to God that we can continue.
Allahu Akbar.
And I know we're going to do something in this state of Oklahoma and throughout America. I know black folks are ready for freedom, and the opportunity is here. And thank you, Brother Herschel. Thank all of the people that have helped you. I love you. And I will keep on and do the best I can to work with you. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah.
Within that context, today, I represented you on the World Conference of Mayors conference call and the after call, telling them about the town of Fort Coffee and the relationship that we have between, as a public-private partnership with Cash Community Development, Friends of the African Union, and how the infrastructure that we put together between Friends of the African Union and the African Diaspora Directorate at the state level gets to be an example in Oklahoma for the nation. Because they were talking about, you know, at the end of the day, broadband. And, you know, I didn't interfere. I didn't, except to point out that on Saturday, that there's going to be a statewide meeting for Oklahoma that is going to be streamed on Zoom. And if anybody's interested, okay, we'll send them the link. But that coming to the table, we're coming to the table with a plan of action to create a global communications infrastructure that in part lands on the continent in Chad, but also has links in Ghana and Kenya in particular, that people don't understand that today, and by the way, we're going to end this at 45 minutes after the hour. And so I appreciate you sticking with us for another 23 minutes.
Let me say this to you, brother. Let me say this. I was in the state capitol yesterday, and all of my paperwork is up to snuff right now.
All right. And so that has to do with that. I told you that there's 2 farmers who, in response to this USDA 4-step process for $530 million that's in the chat. We're not giving you the details, but we're giving you that we have representatives who, as Bernice has said, they've walked the walk. Okay, they've not just talked the talk, they've been in the midst of what has went on. And what we have agreed leading up to the 25th. But let me give you some highlights on the points that we're talking about. We're talking about a African continent that is worth maybe $300 trillion versus today's assets, right? All right. Versus us in America and the rest of the diaspora, okay, we have maybe $3 trillion in assets. But in terms of income here in America, we have 1.25 trillion. But we don't have knowledge of how to handle this operational infrastructure for our own. And that's why it's important that we come together, all right, in a small, tight group to act as an incubator in this, because when we started down this path, at the invitation of the Obama administration in 2012, with the US State Department and the US Africa Business Summit, there was only 4 of us in the room who ran their own businesses. Every other Black person who was from America was working for corporate America. And I felt privileged to have been given access to the room, probably because I'm on the State Department list, because I used to work for His Excellency David Morrow when we were the senior honorary consul. I could not get other people into that room. But now in 2021, a week from now, it is our intention to bring this group together with the process of those who want to follow the process set out by the African Union to provide the connection between the United States and the African Union, and us as a people within the African Union. Friends of the African Union, the African Diaspora Directorate, and individuals on this call have been as part of that process. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to introduce you to G next in the UNESCO process. But I want you to understand that we are in a unique time that we can set a forward-looking agenda, because over the next 90 days, next month is going to be a global food summit. Then in October, November is about global climate change, which is the existential threat to all of humanity. And in either of those cases, we are looking to set an agenda from here in America in cooperation with Africa based on IT infrastructure that we've worked out in the general perspectives of that over the past several weeks. Now we're putting it in black and white between us all. And as Andrew says, now is the time to cross the T's, dot the I's. And in dotting those I's, one of the things we've adopted is the UNESCO clubs, centers, and associations model. And we're blessed to have on the phone with us the executive director of the Center for Peace and the UNESCO clubs, centers, and associations. Guy, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Chairman. I'm very humbled to be before you today. And again, as we've been starting this, I want to join the whole team and Queen Mother to send our sincere condolences to Brother Kofi and the whole family as you're going through this difficult time. And also I want to thank Chairman because we have a joint plan of operations between the Friends of African Union and the UNESCO Center for Peace that we are working on. Everything is actually, everything is all agreed upon. I left Washington DC last Friday, and I'll be back as soon as I get back. I'm sure the document is ready, just waiting for my signature to be sent to you, Chairman. So that's the most up to date, and I think we've talked intensively about this partnership, and what we are expecting. Our board of directors expecting is just to have different teams that are across the country to submit their formal application to be recognized as UNESCO Club Center Association, and for us to start making things happen. I know many of us here really care about bringing young people on board from across the globe, and that's exactly what we are going to do. In parallel to this, there's many other things that are happening in other working with His Excellency Sheriff. Gambia is going to be a destination that on top of what we are talking about here, there's some few other things that will be in place. So at the right time, you will be informed about some of the amazing things that's happening, connecting us to Gambia. But I just want to thank all of you for the blessing, for the opportunity, as I look forward to getting all these UNESCO clubs, center association recognized so that we can work with international UNESCO clubs from around the world. The best thing is that we are ready to get involved in with the forum, with the UNESCO civil society from across the globe. So that's my contribution for the meeting tonight, and I look forward to working with all of you. Thank you very much.
All right, and so and then I assume based on our agreement that you agreed that it is best that we all come together to form an incubator for the permanent forum on people of African descent.
Yes, and not only us in the US, but us across the globe. I informed the World Federation, the European Federation, the African Confederation, all the region. They are very excited about what's happening in the United States. Yes.
Then we will be extending on August 25th the right hand of fellowship around the world. We look forward to that. There was a question about the Global Food Summit on the 25th when we announced the details of the Black Folks Plan for Black farmers. Not only our phase one, $530 million phase one of that, we are going to, on the 26th, be releasing, they're allowing us to run on the 26th, 27th, and 28th, our own mini summit. And so more details will be on that tomorrow, which is education. Okay. But yeah, we're going to run within the context of the Global Food Summit, our own mini summit. Okay. Because we have a plan of action that talks about these issues. And let me present to you the woman who's been coordinating that. Mary, the floor is yours. Guy, did you have another comment? Okay. Mary, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Chairman Daniel. Too much to just pump on one thing, but I will try. Bonis said, glory be to God. All that we achieve, it's in line with God's plan. And with God's plan, we are procreators, which means we extend God's will in his plan. So our concentration on civil society action group with the UNESCO and this group is try to see how we can root the achieved permanent forum. That's number one. Two, also the June 10th. What challenges Africa usually with her independence is that after achieving independence, that was the major success that kind of blindfolded us to strengthen it in terms of economic jumpstart. Therefore, the independence is theoretically, but it never took root. That's why you always hear of neo-colonialism and so on. So this also being the, in a way, independence for the Black folks, the target here as a civil society that really that I work in, which is promoting democracy or integrating democracy, the challenge I was actually talking to one of a friend of mine was like, how do we really root this achievement to the young people in that it doesn't, they inherit it. I usually share this because I remember before coming to United States, 2004, I was engaged in a youth development in Rwanda. And for the very first time, we had a youth parliamentary representation in our parliament. The women they talk about of Rwanda being 46% of parliamentary, that initiative at a young age, I was on it while I was heading to college. So I know what young people are able to vibrate in as far as in a community. That's why you always see me push that we need young people, because they will push whatever the wagon we are having. One, they are energetic for it. Two, they know if you tell them that it is theirs for tomorrow, they incorporate it and push it further than you can do or even other person can do. So that what we are trying to do in terms of civil society coalition is how do we turn this success into a success that is not going to be seen as, oh, where are we going to put this success for these guys? But a success that is going to be welcomed in the community, that it takes root. Even the Marshall Plan that we are trying to bring on the table, there is that kind of thinking, are we going to achieve it? Because of, again, the same worry that we are having here. So I think it's high time we also learned how to navigate the system to reach where we want to reach. And that's where I am interested in, that we get a harmonious community, which is going to recognize what we have achieved and embrace it on both. As you've said, it is the very first time to see Blacks and brown and red, as you would put it, come together. So let it be a forever joint mission that is going to promote. Remember again, we said, when 6 of them, you have 6 people, only 4 succeed and the 2 fail, still the failure, you are going to share it. So how do we work as a team is what we are trying to brainstorm. And I guess with the program that you're working on, Hasho, you consider that and recognize that whatever we're working on, it's for the interest of all. So how do we incorporate it? That is what I had to contribute on this. Thank you.
On that, let me leave you with this. And I'll open the floor for quick, for those who did not get a chance to speak for a second, but I want to make sure people understand this process that we're going forward. In the chat, and by the way, you can save the chat. Okay, there's 3 dots on the right-hand side, and you can then save the chat for on your computer, but we're going to save the chat, and notwithstanding, it'll be available. The last post answers Mary's question of how do we coordinate on a global scale. We started this on back earlier in the year as part of the Indigenous Peoples Forum. And we created, again, New Future Foundation Cash Community Development, and Friends of the African Union with partners, okay, created on April 29th, the framework for this to bring us all together, the indigenous peoples of the world, the Indigenous Peoples Alliance. And Indigenous Peoples Alliance is driven by that agreement between Black and Red folk here in the United States, but it includes Indigenous peoples of the Americas, Africa, Asia, and the Indigenous peoples of Oceania. You want information on that? There it is. It's Cash Community Development, okay, on their front page. It's on right on their front page. Okay, it's a downloadable. We're going to have a pre-summit meeting this Saturday. If you're interested, you can email me. Furthermore, in the there's been over 500 state-sponsored pre-summit meetings. Okay, the Food Systems Summit dialogues sponsored by states. I put the link in there so you can explore what has been done before. And this is a key point. There is a lot of work that has been done before that we don't have to duplicate. We're not the organization of not invented here. We're the organization that says what is the best of class of that which is invented that can fit onto our backbone infrastructure network. Okay. And so to idea of overcoming the challenges that are existential threat to us all is in the Sustainable Development Goals built on the Millennium Development Goals that is endorsed by the United States. What we're doing is we're taking that dog out for a walk. We're not just trying to say, okay, you said some great words and they're down there on paper. We're saying, cut the check. We know they're more than words. We're a capitalist society. We know that when you cut the check, that means you're really down for it. And so this Food Systems Summit allows dialogues, which our dialogues are going to have August 26th through August 28th, sponsored by the African Diaspora Directorate with Friends of the African Union and partners and allies. So within that, we will be setting up we have everybody's. If we do not have your email, you should give us your email in the chat. Directly to me, you can email to me, herschel.daniels@africandiasporadirectorate.org, or you can email me at blackfolksplan1@gmail.com. I will open, we've got 3 minutes and 2 minutes, and we're going to close. Is there any questions that anybody would have? And then we're going to go to close. Is His Excellency, yes, His Excellency still with us, and we'll ask His Excellency to close us. Is there any questions that anybody has that I need to address?
After questions, I have a comment.
All right, let's have a comment.
Okay, the comment is that I'm going to share. In the first place, thank you so much for your patience and perseverance. Elder Prophet, you asked us about the AHIABGA organization. In fact, this platform provides them with their meetings for the California chapter of AHIABGA. That's coming up at 6 o'clock, which is why tonight I said we need to wind up at 5:45. But I'm taking 2 minutes to share with you the African Union's anthem, which I think is very important to what it is we're doing, so that we have a feel of the vision and also the power that's radiating from throughout the world. So please bear with me. The African Union's agenda anthem.
Let us all unite and celebrate together the victories won for our liberation. Let us dedicate ourselves to rise together to defend our liberty and unity. Oh, sons and daughters of Africa.
Okay, Andrew, I think you're gonna have to turn that over to somebody else to play.
We'll do it tomorrow. Thank you so much for your patience, and we'll get it started tomorrow. No problem.
All right, I'll do it tomorrow off of the computer. His Excellency, Mayor Mohammed, His Excellency asks that you give us closing words. Mayor Mohammed Rubula.
Okay, I'm on now. I was on mute. The prayer goes like this. By the token of time and through the ages, verily man and woman are at loss, except those that have faith, do righteousness, and come together in one unit, praising the Creator and doing prayer often. Pray often. With that being said, Amen.
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 This call is now ended.
Blessings.
Peace be unto you all till we meet again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Assalamualaikum.
Have a wonderful evening.
Mhm.
Blessings.
Blessings.
Blessings. to you
Amen.
all. Amen.